All right, so I wanted to do a quick video about this camera. This camera is the URSA Mini Pro 4.6K G2 from Blackmagic. I'm also going to talk about the PYXIS 12k camera that's coming out soon, but I'll talk about that later and my thoughts about it, which that's going to seem a little bit ironic after everything I'm talking about now, but just roll with me. This Blackmagic URSA Mini Pro 4.6K G2 is the camera we all wanted, but it kind of seemed like we ignored it. And I'm going to be reading notes here, just looking at my phone kind of like the entire time, so there's just a lot to get out, so it's the easiest way for me to do this. But yeah, this camera came out and it kind of seems like we all ignored it. Maybe not, but I didn't hear that many like raving reviews about it or news, and I don't know if it's because Blackmagic wasn't as popular as it is right now or what, but I figured it was worth giving it its flowers. This camera has everything. The specs are amazing for the price, and these days you can probably get one used for around $2,500, which is insane. I and my friend Dean, we've been using this camera for about 4 years to shoot our super low budget indie feature film. The reason we chose this camera was because it was the gear that we owned at the time. And one day we just decided, hey, you know what? Let's make a movie. Let's stop waiting for people. We have gear. Maybe we should use it to make a movie. And so this camera was the one that we went with. The whole time that we've been doing this, I have been waiting for the years to pass and always kind of felt like I might be pissed that I didn't use something better when it releases. New cameras seem to come out every single day, if not at least every year, and the tech that keeps coming out is so wild, and I'm always thinking like, man, I really hope I don't like wish later that we would have shot on a newer camera or something, because it's taking us so long to make this movie because of the way that we're doing it on weekends every month here and there whenever we can. So let's talk about the URSA 4.6K G2 and why it has not only survived the latest tech updates, but why it's still the perfect camera to shoot our movie. There's a ton of specs that I'm going to go into, but first I want to explain some high-level stuff to you. There's this guy named Steve Yedlin. His website is yedlin.net. Google him. If you don't know who Steve is, he's an incredible DP who shot movies like Knives Out and Star Wars: The Last Jedi, Glass Onion, and many more. He's also super technical, and he doesn't gatekeep his knowledge. On his site, you can find a bunch of links where he does all these videos and write-ups about really technical concepts with imaging and cameras. And when I first found him, I became a little bit obsessed because I was reading and watching everything he put out because it was blowing my mind. Basically, he talks about these concepts and he debunks certain things that really made me fall back in love with this camera and let me sort of let my guard down with it. Let me explain. When you think about cameras, what are the things that you think about with a certain camera that makes you decide whether it's good or good enough? Probably like resolution, right? Or maybe it's color or the look of the camera and the look that it gives you. Or maybe it's the sensor size, like whether it's full frame or Super 35. Or maybe you're like me and you feel a little insecure that you don't have the money to shoot on real film and you have to shoot digital. And yeah, at least I did. So basically, I was studying all this stuff about Steve Yedlin, and I looked at everything on his website. And now, after reading all his stuff, I sort of feel like all those categories, like the sensor size and the color and the look, and whether it's film or digital or all that stuff, resolution, I kind of feel like all that stuff is bullshit. I know it's a hot take, and I know that a ton of you will hate on me for it. And also, that's not what Steve says, so please don't let me put words in his mouth. Look at what he says. I'm just saying go look at his website because all these topics were a bit over my head at first, but it's really, really worth understanding the best you can. We, as filmmakers, or in my case, doing the best to be one, we always sort of talk about, well, the ARRI or ARRI is better, or film has this specific authentic look. And we sort of give ourselves this excuse that's like, well, I could be doing something better or cooler if I had access to the real stuff. But after reading and watching all the demos on Steve Yedlin's website, I really believe that all those concepts are not a limiting factor to getting a certain look or feel. All right, let's get into it. So let's start with resolution. Again, go to his website and read what he says, but he has this video called Resolution Demo. And basically, what I gathered from it is that he's saying that the amount of Ks a camera has, like 4K, 6K, or 8K, is not alone the deciding factor of what makes the camera have high resolution. So, like sharpness and overall perceived quality has a lot to do with things like lenses, camera grain structure, or noise, and many other things. He says something along the lines of like 3K being high enough for our eyes to be able to perceive. So like anything over 3K, like 6K, 8K, 12K, it really doesn't matter, assuming that you're viewing the screen at a somewhat normal distance. Like literally our eyes can't perceive more pixels is what I gathered. Again, check my facts. But so all these camera companies, right, they're selling and marketing to us things like 6K, 8K, 12K, super features that are constantly coming out, and really they aren't even a deciding factor of the look of the image quality-wise. Obviously, there's certain obvious benefits of the higher pixel amounts, like cropping. So like if you need to punch in and reframe a shot, that's a different subject. That's still a benefit, but most of the time I'm not even doing that. I'm just setting up the frame that I really want and I'm locking in on that. And this is 4.6K anyway, so it has a little bit extra resolution for a 4K delivery. But I'm talking about what actually gives you like a good looking image that's high enough resolution for all audiences. And he sort of says that all of that is not what makes it that. Go ahead and check out his resolution section. Now, let's also talk about the look, or like the color. He has this whole thing called color science. And basically what I gathered from that is that these cameras these days, any like modern cinema camera, or most of them, probably like 95% of them, honestly, these days, there's obviously outliers like smartphones and GoPros that don't capture enough data, but the ones that do, they're data capturing devices, right? So they capture all this data and they give it to you in like a log format or a raw format. And then the thing that decides the look is not the camera at all. And all these people are saying like, well, the Arri has this look, or this has this look, or this has this look. The look is entirely decided in the post pipeline. And whether you want to talk about film or digital or this camera or that camera, all of the look, let's be real, comes down to things like color fidelity or noise structure or the grain you add or the halation that it has. Those are the things that make the look. It's not the camera that makes the look. The camera captures the data and then you make the look in post. And literally, if you look at his website and watch the things that I'm saying, it's called On Color Science, you'll see that he even goes into the debate of film versus digital. And he always has the option to shoot on film anytime he wants to. He's a major Hollywood DP, but he has been consistently arguing that he would like to shoot digitally because he can get the same look. And I know that a lot of you are going to hate on this and say that film is obviously the experience of shooting film, like not being able to do multiple takes and stuff, that's still all true. But as far as the look, which is the thing that I really care about, you can get the exact same look. You can get a 500T 2383 look just like film by doing the color pipeline that gets it to look the same. And he will prove it to you. Again, go and look at that. Don't let me say it in the wrong way. Let's go down another thing that we all think about all too often, the sensor size. So there's like Super 35 sensors, large format sensors, full frame sensors. Lately, it's all the rage. You know, I'm shooting on the FX3 right now. The FX3 is a full frame sensor. Behind me, over there on one of these carts, I have the Blackmagic Cinema Camera 6K, which is like the 6K camera that is in the form of like the pocket-shaped body, but it is a full frame sensor that does open gate. And it's a large format sensor. And I remember when I got that camera, I was thinking like, wow, this looks totally different. Like, I don't know if I should go for like the Super 35 look on this project anymore, or if I should go the full frame look. And like, we are all telling each other that like the full frame look is a certain thing with the look. And Steve is arguing that it's not. And he proves it with all the math and everything that you would need to be proven to. Go on there again and look. Obviously, there are the extremes with like, the edges of this argument, but in a high percentage of use cases, you can get the exact same image. And he explains this basically because what he says is he has this thing called uncommon misconceptions about large format optics. And, I was worried about this G2 shooting the movie being Super 35, and then everyone starts getting these full frame cameras, and I was like, what am I going to do? And I may be wrong here, but through my research, I found out actually that the Super 35 sensor is closest to what a Super 35 film movie that I grew up watching would look like, most of them. But in his article, he explains that you can actually get the exact same perspective and shot with both a large sensor and a smaller sensor. He talks about something called angle of view, and how angle of view is determined by the ratio of the focal length to the sensor size. So, if you're using a larger format camera, you may use a longer lens, or a smaller format camera with a wider lens, but angle of view is determined by the ratio of focal length to sensor size. So then he says that you can get the same shot based on the angle of view and camera position. So basically, if you use the same camera position and angle of view on two different sensor sizes, you can have the exact same shot perspective, including the compression of the lens. Again, he has all the math on there. He has other things called matching lens blur, and matching lens blur on different format sizes, and he explains it all properly. Please read it for yourself. All of this is to say one thing, and that's that the URSA Mini Pro 4.6K G2 is definitely good enough for me and any of you to make a full-length feature film. And whatever camera you currently own, if it does log or RAW and has good dynamic range and shoots about over 3K, 4K, is also good enough. The marketing of camera companies will make it out to seem confusing, but it really does make sense once you try to learn and understand all these concepts. Now, assuming you're still with me and you do plan to go and read Steve Yedlin's website for yourself, let's talk about this G2 and how it has everything I needed for this movie. Here goes the specs. So the sensor readout speed of this camera is incredible. It's 7.59 milliseconds, which is insane and faster than any camera that I own. I own the FX3, I own the Pocket 6K, Pocket 4K, the Pocket 6K Pro, and out of all those cameras, this is far better than that on sensor readout speed. So all of you that are always worried about like, oh no, the image is going this way and that way and looks all like jello with the shutter, because it's not global shutter. It's like, okay, but this camera is incredible and you could probably get it for $2,500 if you care about that. Let's talk about the color. It has 4.6K raw Gen 5 color. If you know anything about Blackmagic's color science, it's beautiful. Works incredibly well with DaVinci Resolve. Keep in mind, they're the same people who make that. I'm a huge Blackmagic fan. The dynamic range is 15 stops. Crazy. It has two CFast 2 card slots. Internal NDs. Internal NDs were a huge thing for Dean and I because we're moving fast and I didn't have an AC. I'm the DP and co-director with him. He's running the audio. So I don't have anybody on the camera crew to help me with things. And so when I need to throw in an ND, I just switch it and it helps us be nimble and fast. We've also been using this thing called a Dior filter, which is right here, which we have another video on that I'll show you. Because, that you can go and look up. We have another video, you can check it out. The reason we use that is because, again, since we're a low budget situation, we could only use Sigma art lenses. And we just really wanted to do anything we could to get that movie feel. It's our first movie we've ever made, and we wanted to go full-fledged with passion and everything we had. And this was our best efforts, and this camera, we were like, how can we squeeze it? Like, hopefully it's good enough. And so anyway, let's go. We'll get a little bit more into that in a second, but it has interchangeable lens mounts. I've thrown a PL on there, an anamorphic PL. We're using the EF, but it's super easy to change and not very expensive if you want to get the other mount. Again, Super 35 sensor, totally good enough. And again, is closer to the size of 35 millimeter film movies, most of them that I watch. Obviously, there's things like Sound of Music and movies that shot on large format, like 65 millimeter film or 70 millimeter, not that. But it does 120 frames per second without cropping in 4.6K, which is insane. We did do some shots in the movie. I could show you a couple slow motion shots, which are amazing. It has actually, I can't show you those shots. They're like, I can't show them to you, but trust me, take my word for it. It has V-mount. You can attach a V-mount battery right to the body, like very fleshly. You do need like this thing from Wooden Camera or any other company that you attach to it, but you don't need like rails coming off the back to attach a V-mount, which is pretty cool. It has a big body, which is awesome because we wanted to feel legit. It's our first movie, and it's like, man, I wish, I'm glad we went with this one and not like something like an FX3, honestly, solely for the reason that like I'm out there in the heat, in different conditions, making a movie with my friends, and I just want to feel like we got to make a movie like all the BTS that I saw growing up, and it just felt more legit. It felt more fun. It has XLR inputs right on the body. It also has the ability to load LUTs in the camera. It has SDI ports. I know a lot of you are concerned about SDI, multiple SDI ports. Super easy Blackmagic menu system and interface. If you know anything about Blackmagic cameras, it's got the touchscreen and it's just it's straightforward, That's it on that. We've used it in a lot of harsh conditions, weather-wise. So like it's been around water, out at sea for a few days. We were on this boat. It's been in super, super heat. We're in Florida, so it's like the movie's called Somewhere in Florida, by the way, quick plug. But it's hot as hell here, and the camera's never overheated. And it has a rosette on the side of the body, which is awesome because I can attach this handle like straight up right to the camera, this wooden one that you see right there. Just a cool feature, small but cool. Now I'm going to show some frames from the movie, and what I want to drive home now is just how epic it is that this camera can do this. Like, look at how this looks. We're talking about color. I was talking about Steve Yedlin earlier and how the camera isn't what makes the look, it's the image pipeline. Now, knowing what I was talking about with that, I'm super excited about two major color developments that happened this past week, which is just insane. So, we're using this G2. We're kind of like, we want to get that best filmic look. We have been studying and referencing movies from like the 70s. So like people like Robert Altman, and a lot of those older movies, they were shooting on stocks that were older, vintage film stocks, and obviously they were shooting on film. And the nostalgia that they had and like the feel that they had of those movies, like even things of the time, like Jaws. We really like this movie, What's Up, Doc? Pedro Almodovar, I think I'm saying that right. We love his stuff. But again, all these guys were shooting on film for the most part, and they were shooting on stocks that don't exist today. Obviously in the modern day, if you shoot on film, you're using Vision 3 color from a Vision 3 family of film stock and 2383 for the print stock. And so that's sort of like a modern look. But all that is to get back to this point on color is that this last week there were two insane developments. I've been researching like the hell out of a rabbit hole of film emulation for years because I wanted to get it to look as close to those movies and like just feel like a real movie. It's our first feature film, and we were like kind of heartbroken that we couldn't afford to shoot on film, and I just wanted that fucking look, So anyway, new things came out recently that are color pipelines. And one of them is something called Genesis by Cullen Kelly, Steve Yedlin himself, which is insane. I've been studying this guy for months now, and I'm just like, what the hell? Steve Yedlin is releasing his color tools, and Dr. Mitch Bogdanovich, they're releasing something called Genesis. And what's so crazy about this is that we have never really had access to real pro color science and like the legit LUTs. I always watch these movies like The Joker, and I was like, if only I could get a LUT from one of these crazy color scientists. They talk about show LUTs and all this shit. Well, this is the guy that made the color science for that LUT of the Joker. This is like, come on. Now we can use our lower budget cameras and combine it with these never before had color pipelines, and it's just wild. It's not cheap. I think they're selling it for like $2,000, but this whole time with the film, I've always like been thinking I'm not going to be able to afford a pro colorist, but I wish I could get that look. And so I was thinking my crazy plan was going to be set aside a couple $1,000s to the side and try to get like consulting or something from a pro colorist where I'd be like, dude, I can't pay you to grade this, but can I give you like $3,000 so you can at least give me your opinion about certain plugins or certain halation methods or certain whatever, so you can guide me to what I should be doing on my own. So at least I had advice from a real pro. Well, the craziest thing is that now these things came out. These are from those actual pros, and they're just giving it away that I can purchase it for $2,000 and use the actual thing on my footage. And it has all these different stocks and all this different features that is just like, you got to be kidding me. Like this whole time, it's just crazy that time keeps going by and things keep getting better and the camera isn't changing. This camera is still like 5 or 6 years old, and now all of a sudden I'm just like, what the hell? Am I about to finally get the image that I really, really wanted this entire time? Crazy. Then another thing last week, Filmbox updated to something called Filmbox Pro, and they have like a ton of new stocks as well. And both Filmbox Pro, it also has some other crazy features that you got to look up. I still haven't been all the way through it. I did buy it, and I'm throwing it on some images so you can see what this looks like. It's incredible to me because it has the Eastman stocks in it. And Kodak had something called Eastman back in the day, but is now long gone. And there has never been, trust me, I've been in the forums. I have never found an accurate anywhere on the internet, I've never found an accurate emulation of Kodak Eastman film stock that looked good to me. And I've always just had access to, as we know, like 500T or 250D with 2383. And I know that Dehancer and stuff had, and we're not going to talk about that. Like, it wasn't really hitting it like I wanted it to. Juan Malara is what I've been using up until this point because he had a beautiful 500T 2383 thing and power grade. It's called Film Unlimited. Check him out too. Still very beautiful stuff. With this new Filmbox Pro, I might have to change my mind because look at this Eastman shit. It has the look of those movies, you know, like when I put this on and I'm looking at these images, it's like it's got that film look, but it doesn't really have that like too much of that blue in the split toning. And so like it's kind of like super rich, vibrant, dense colors, but like I don't know. It just has the look of those older movies. And me and Dean are just like mind blown and just calling each other like emotional on the phone, being like, dude, oh my God, I can't believe. Like it was like more than Christmas, you know? It was like I had like 4 birthdays in a row. I've been waiting for this for fucking my whole life. And now I can see it coming out of this camera, which I'm just like, I didn't even need to get a new camera. This camera still has updated color science. And then I put it through that and I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what I wanted it to look like. And it's crazy. So all that is to say that we are in a crazy time. I think we've been in a crazy time with camera technology, but like literally my whole life has been building up to this. It's like they just add new things like, okay, now we have 4K, now we have this. Now I think we're like there. Like I'm going to buy Genesis this week, so I'm going to do a new video soon whenever I get time where I do an update about Genesis versus the Filmbox and the new Filmbox Pro, and I sort of say like, look, I mean, I can't not get Genesis. It's $2,000, but I already was planning to spend that money anyway on that consulting colorist crazy plan that I had. And so, yeah, it's crazy. I think we're here. If Genesis is what it is, if it's really this, I mean, it is from Steve Yedlin and this Dr. Mitch Bogdanovich and Cullen Kelly. And it's just incredible that these guys decided to stop, like, you know, they were not gatekeeping, but the rest of the industry, I feel like, and I'm not even need to call it gatekeeping. I'm sure there's tons of reasons why we didn't have access to this because it's incredible color science, and why would we have access to this? But insane that we now do. Again, this URSA G2 is amazing. I did say that I was going to talk to you about the PYXIS 12k and how it would be a little bit ironic that after saying all that, I totally pre-ordered the PYXIS 12k as soon as I saw it. The day they announced it, I pre-ordered it because, again, I'm throwing out things like 2,000 or this or that, like money's everywhere. It's totally not. Sorry to my wife for spending that on the PYXIS 12k, but it's like $5,000 with 12k, high frame rates, crazy dynamic range, the new sensor technology, and my inner child just could not. Maybe at this point we're there though with cameras. I am very interested, like if anybody thinks more about imaging and where we're going. Steve Yedlin kind of already debunked HDR to me, but like, are we here? Have we arrived at like imaging being the ultimate image? You know, like where does it, are they going to just add more dynamic range? I don't really know. I kind of wish that like Steve or someone, one of you guys that are like some older guys that really know your stuff, comment and let's talk. I'm really fascinated by like, where are we going to go from here? Like everything I ever hoped and dreamed for is kind of like now happening as of last week. So if all that stuff is true from Steve and this, and now we can get like film. Oh, last point I'll make is like, the crazy thing about these color things is they released the Eastman, and I've always been upset that I couldn't shoot on film. But what ended up happening, which is insane, is I still have this URSA G2. They released the Eastman super accurate emulation. Both of them have the Eastman. What I realized is I could have never shot Eastman film today, right? So all the movies I've been looking at were shot on Eastman. That's the look I wanted. I could only get 500T Vision 3 or 250, like Vision 3 color science today with like 2383. So it ended up being a situation where by just sticking out with this old G2, URSA G2, I ended up with the look that I wanted, the Eastman look. That look, like what I'm trying to drive home is like, that isn't possible another way. And I ended up in a better scenario than if I would have actually shot real film for the stuff that I wanted to do, which is insane. Like, if I would have shot real film this whole time, I would have been like, amazing, cool. I shot film. It has that feel. But what I really, really wanted is Eastman, honestly. And it's just crazy that I ended up with that and I didn't shoot film. So if anybody's like worried about this anymore, like, you might not need to worry anymore. This is awesome. Go make your movie, take the camera that you have. It's good enough. And that's it.